I'm going to quickly cut across to Dr. Naresh Trehan, who's the chairman and MD at Medanta, to give us an understanding on what could have really happened. Dr. Naresh, really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. KK gone too soon. At a young age of 53, he had a massive heart attack. He complained of excessive heat at that venue. He was, instead of being taken to a hospital, he was rushed to a hotel where he's said to have collapsed. And that's when they moved him to a hospital where he was declared brought dead. Several theories and suspicion on what could have really happened. We'd like to hear from you.
So, you know, in the absence of a proper history and background, it's difficult to say what could be the cause. But some of the things that one has to be careful about is today we know that people who have family history of heart disease, people who have diabetes, and as we know that KK did not smoke or drink, so those two factors were not there. But the two significant factors that play a role in younger people getting heart disease are basically genetic, stress, which I'm sure any performer has to go through a lot. And three, if there is diabetes, it is an added significant risk factor. So what happened in that concert? Obviously, a concert is like a high intensity, high energy event. And if there was a pre-existing heart disease, which he may or may not have realized, and contributing factors can be the strenuous 2 hours that he spent there, the exhaustion, and also the heat. So dehydration also precipitates heart attacks in pre-existing blockages in the arteries. So it could be any one of those reasons. And we don't know in the absence of an autopsy report yet whether it was really a heart attack or was it something else.
Trehan, we know a heat stroke or heat exhaustion is a common phenomena, especially during the summers. We know that you step out and you feel faint due to excessive heat. So a heat stroke could be common. How could that link to the heart? Could that really have a link to your heart?
No, see, what does a heat stroke mean? I mean, it means that it does not affect the heart in that direct a manner, but it does create dehydration. So dehydration itself will increase the thickness of your blood, and that means that if there are pre-existing blockages already, the blood can clot. So it can enhance the clotting of the blood, and in situations like this, when there is pre-existing disease, stress, exhaustion, heat stroke, and also the fact that the stress one goes through can raise your blood pressure, and a lot of performers during their performance do have an elevated blood pressure because they are really energized at that time. And also, so all these things put together can precipitate a heart attack. But one of the things, see, there are two mechanisms in which this kind of thing would have happened. One is that there were already pre-existing blockages in the arteries. They may have been 50, 60, 70, 80%. And then something happens which precipitates the blood, or the plaque ruptures, and they get a clot in the artery and they get a heart attack. The second thing that can happen, which does happen in events like this, is that you have a very high blood pressure which ruptures the artery. The inner lining of the artery actually breaks, and if that happens, what we call dissection. Dissection can give you an acute heart attack immediately. So those are the mechanisms which are the most common you would find, and that's why when we say you have had athletes drop dead, you have people on a bicycle, and then COVID is another added risk factor which has come into play in the pandemic. And so all this has to be taken into consideration to say what could be the immediate tragic event that happened, what caused it. So in a way, now what could have been done, whether we should have taken to the hospital together immediately or to the hotel, those are things that we don't know, and we can just tell you medically that this is possible because of the factors that I just enumerated.